Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today it's my pleasure to review a book which I think many people will find very helpful. It's come to us, I spotted it in Wilder's in fact in central London, and it's this book. It's called Faultless Grammar, The Busy Lawyer's Reminder Guide. It's been written by Ben Staveley and the illustrations are by Patrick Blower. Ben's published it himself, and this is actually the book here. Elizabeth and I talked about the book, and we've given it a title for our book review. Sadly, an important book for our times. As a professional, you need this short book. And I'll explain why in a minute, but let me show you the book first. There it is. I did find the actual cartoons very helpful. That's the front of it anyway. There's nothing on the spine, but on the back there are some quotes about the book. You can probably see them if I just sort of move them up a bit. Now if I open it, I'm not going to spoil it by showing you everything. I did like the section on notes at the back, and I did like the last bit right at the end. But if I open it at the beginning, I'm not going to spoil it for showing too much of the book off, but that's the front page there. And then it says, please read me, and that explains to you how to go through the book. And it talks about various other things, for instance, a philosophical justification for respecting the rules and so forth, Mr. Stickler. And then you can see how it runs through there. Then you get to the contents page itself, and that sets out what he's trying to sort out concerning grammar and punctuation, commas, semicolons, capital letters, and so on. It's very, very important, and one that quite often is a problem. Now you'll see with the body copy of the text that there are some red items which are highlighted, and it says in the guide, please read me, because it says it explains why or what the actual red parts are actually for. And it's actually here, there we are, the colour coding. It says a colourful note to end with. The colour code is the correct examples are shown in blue, incorrect usage in red. So you can see, for instance, there's an example, who and whom. You can see there again how it's done. As I said, I found it very interesting. So what do we say? It's not a very long book. It runs to 60 odd pages, and it's not a very big book at all, but I thought it's fascinating to look at, and one that I think we actually do need. Now, why do we need it? Well, this is what we say about the book. How many times do you forget your grammar? It's so easy to do with our splendid English language and all its quirks and idiosyncrasies. What Ben Staveley's short paperback, Faultless Grammar, gives us is the reminder guide for the busy lawyer, the person whose first language, it may not be English, and for unrepresented parties preparing their own legal submissions. So it was my view, having added those on, that this book has a wider appeal than just for the busy lawyer, because in fact there's a lot more to it than that, because our communication skills are very, very important, especially in court with the judge. Now the book gives us what Staveley calls the tools to reduce to vanishing point the chances that you will write something that, because of the way it's written, will make your reader think the less of you. Well, that's the problem with communication, of course. In fact, bite your lip, because this is just what you need when you are in a hurry and the memory might just slip a bit. It always happens, believe me, and the worst time is when you corpse on live television. I can tell you that for a fact. Now, and that goes for judges as well, of course, because we're not all infallible, including judges. First good rule, in my view, of advocacy, or the first rule of good advocacy, written or oral, is carefully checking, because there's often a slip between the pen and the lip. And it's quite important to bear that in mind. I'm just looking recently at a court order, and there were some funny words in it, and I suddenly realised that what we had said and what was written down and what was then typed up were rather different things, and that can cause some problems. Now, a few years ago, standards of written English in the legal profession were lower than many liked, including the judiciary, who were often critical of the badly presented paperwork in court. And like many advocates, I suffered from the lack of careful preparation when receiving a brief to counsel, which was, to say the least, substandard. And I suspect in the past that's happened to quite a few older barristers. I think standards have really changed with the changing courses and a basic rising or raising of educational requirements and so forth. Now, fortunately, standards and the quality of most lawyers' written skills have seen a marked and noticeable improvement, although it would not be a good idea to single out any particular jurisdiction for special mention, because we all know where some of the big problem areas are within parts of the judicial system, and I'm not going to mention them, but you know what I'm actually referring to. So this book and the splendid and humorous cartoons drawn by Patrick Blower make our professional lives just that little bit easier, I think, with this reminder guide. Two bits of quotable news which come from the author may encourage you further in your quest for grammatical accuracy and superiority in the heat of legal battle. First, quote, "This guide is based on a wide survey of the writing of lawyers entering the profession, so it can confidently claim to cover all the most common problems." And second, the guide can be quite short. This is because though some hapless writers ingeniously find new elephant traps to stumble into, most errors lie within a narrow set of categories. Absolutely true, and that's sometimes where the problems can be to a certain extent. Now, or to put it another way perhaps, and this is another quote from the author, "If you master all the things in this guide, you are likely to have all you need to move from a confident to a faultless writer." And that basically is the aim. Alas, we feel this may be a bit of wish fulfillment time, but nevertheless, Ben has a point, because Faultless Grammar is a fine book for all of us, because we all possess one great human characteristic. Our memory can fail us. We can suddenly forget. So that's why the book is helpful. And it's done with a certain irony, which may be lost in some countries but not in the United Kingdom. Let me conclude by saying, so if you do not have the benefit of someone else's pair of eyes to watch what you're doing with your written English, Ben's book is a godsend, if we can use such an expression. Thank you. Now, the book was published on the 15th of June 2017. Let's have a quick look at it again. It's only a short review, this one that I've done, but I did like the book. There it is. Some lovely comments on the back, which you can look at your leisure. You can get this book out Wilder's, I believe, and it should be available from the author. Now, commas, always a big area, and of course other things, common comma and common Oxford commas, and then restrictive and non-restrictive clauses and use of commas there, and so forth, and things like hyphens. There we go. So you've got everything, I think, on Monty Hython. No, it wasn't that, it's hyphens. You've got everything that you want, I think, in that book, as a little extra aid memoir, if you like, because, as I say, from time to time it's easy to just forget something, and this will help you. As I say, but I think to a certain extent it's a bit personal, but things have tended to slide a bit, so I think this is just arriving in the legal world at the right time to address a few of the problem areas that we've had in the past. Thank you, Ben, very much indeed, for an excellent book. Bye-bye.